right, guys. So I'm here today with Anne Marie.
We're redefining language. Liberals are now the most, as you say, the most illiberal people, and extraordinarily, it's you find now that it's the left, which was originally, at least hold itself up to be the defender of women's rights and the defender of gay rights and all the rest. And there was a time when it was.
Right.
Everything's been turned upside down. Now you'll find it's the more conservative-minded person who is actually speaking out for women's rights and gay rights by being the one to challenge Sharia and the awful horrors that are committed, particularly against women in this country. And it's the left who's defending horrific practices, forced marriage, FGM, even the gang rape of young English girls in this country. I mean, I think the whole world now knows about the Rotherham, and it's not just Rotherham. It happens in every town and city across England. Professor Alexis Jay, she wrote a report. It was released last year, or it might have been this year, and I think it was last year, saying that 1,400 young girls in the town of Rotherham alone had been gang raped by gangs of so-called Asian men.
Right.
So
you mean guys from Vietnam, basically, right?
Japanese guys.
Right.
Of course, these were not Asian men. There was no one from Japan or China involved in this, and there probably was a few from North Africa. These were gangs almost exclusively Muslim, and they are grooming and gang raping and prostituting girls 12, 13, 14 years of age. One estimate put it at as many as 1 million, potentially, English girls have been gang raped by these men and prostituted by these men, forced to take drugs by these men. And it's happening all over England. And for example, if we look at Rotherham, it was a Labour council, of course, who else, who let it happen because they knew it was happening. They knew Muslims were doing it, and they didn't want to upset community cohesion by making a big deal out of it. So they allowed the rapes to carry on. I mean, we had one woman who raised the alarm up in Rotherham. She won't go public about it, but she'd raised the alarm about it, and she said these Asian men, Muslim men, were raping girls all over the town, absolute impunity. And she was told never to mention this again, never to mention their ethnicity again, and was sent on a 2-day equality and diversity course while the rapes carried on. This is going on all across England. It's still going on despite the post-Rotherham outrage, but nothing's changed. Nothing at all has changed. I did a Freedom of Information request, and I'm going to be releasing a report on this before Christmas. I did a Freedom of Information request to every single, I'll explain what that is in a minute. I'll explain it now. We have legislation in Britain which allows you to write to every public, so the police or local, any public office, and request information from them, and they have to supply it. So I sent a Freedom of Information request to every local council in England and every police force in England, asking about how many girls in their area had been gang raped by groups of Muslim men. None of them could give me an accurate answer. Nothing has changed. They haven't changed how they record this information. They haven't introduced any robust criminal prosecution policies since the Rotherham report. Effectively, nothing has changed. But one thing that I did find out, which really strikes me, and here's the left again. Here is the left with its wrecking ball of morality and common sense again. What happens when these things, when local councils become aware of the gang rape of girls, some of them in the care, by the way, of the local council, they're legally responsible for these kids. When they become aware that these kids are being raped in huge numbers by gangs of Muslim predators in their town, they'll set up a committee to talk about what to do. Then they'll come up with a policy which will be completely ineffective. The policy will be about bureaucracy and recording this and talking about that. And the idea that you should go out and arrest these men and prosecute them, gather evidence to prosecute them for rape, never occurs to them. The simple application of criminal law is not an option. They'll set up a committee, another committee, a subcommittee, a sub-subcommittee to talk about it, to educate and raise awareness. And all the while, and this thing can go on over years, and all the while they're setting up committees, subcommittees, and sub-subcommittees to talk nonsense, the rapes carry on, and not a single person is arrested. Well, here's an idea, lefties. Enforce the rape laws that already exist. You know who these men are. Go out and arrest them. That's what you do. You won't need committees and subcommittees. Just enforce the law as it is. I spoke to a woman who herself had been gang raped for years by these men. She gave the police a list of names. They are still, she's now a grown woman. Those men are still going around her hometown and they are still raping young girls. And she gave names, addresses, even car registration numbers for some of them to the police. They did absolutely nothing. And 5-6 years later, those men are still walking the streets, still raping kids, and the local government is still sitting at a subcommittee talking about raising awareness. Get out and arrest them, you fools.